Teen Titans, one of the most beloved and successful shows on Cartoon Network. It was popular with kids and adults, as the show had both lighthearted and mature themes. But after only a 3-year run, Teen Titans came to an end. In 2012, Cartoon Network announced that they were going to revive Teen Titans, but not exactly how it once was. This new version was called Teen Titans Go, and it was quite different from the original. What was once an action cartoon with comedic elements had now become a straight-up comedy, and the characters sport a more cartoony design. Needless to say, many fans were not expecting this change, and were not happy about it. In fact, Teen Titans Go is one of the most controversial cartoons I have ever seen, and a lot of people claim that it has run the franchise into the ground, that it's to blame for preventing the return of the original Teen Titans. But is this true? Is this show guilty of the current condition of the franchise? Or is there more to this story? Not only is Teen Titans one of the most controversial cartoons I have come across, but it's also one of the most mysterious. As I have said, the original ran for 3 years, but came to somewhat of an abrupt end. There were questions that were never resolved. The last episode was a huge cliffhanger that left the audience wondering what would happen in season 6, but it never happened. Why is that? Some say it was due to poor sales and merchandise. Others say it was too popular with the wrong demographics, and were siphoning views from other shows. Was it Cartoon Network that ended the show? Or was it Warner Brothers? If the original was so successful, then why did they end it? And why did they not bring it back as it once was?
Ooh, I could make coconut cream pies. Everybody likes those.
Lastly, there is the matter of Teen Titans Go, and the effect it currently has on Cartoon Network. It's not rare to see this show claim nearly 50% of the weekly airtime on the network. This leaves very little for other cartoons, and can stifle the growth of old and new shows. And why is this the case specifically for America? This is the schedule for Cartoon Network Asia. And this is the schedule for Cartoon Network America. Notice the difference in variety? So this begs the question, why does Cartoon Network focus so much on a single show when they have one of the largest libraries of cartoons in the world?
I used to be so much cooler!
So we are going to discuss the past, present, and future of Teen Titans to uncover why the original was truly canceled, why Teen Titans Go is the successor, and why Cartoon Network obsesses over this show. Again, this is a very controversial topic, and one that many people feel passionate about, one way or the other. My goal here is to objectively present my research and share my thoughts so we can discover what's ruining Teen Titans. In order to understand what Teen Titans has become, we need to go back and see what it once was. And, unsurprisingly, it began in the world of comics. Now, the history of Teen Titans could be a separate video of its own, but I'm going to keep it short so we can stay on task. The Teen Titans first appeared in July of 1964, in Brave and the Bold, Volume 1, number 54. This was their unofficial debut, but they officially got their own series in February of '66. The first team of characters for the Titans included Robin, Wonder Girl, Kid Flash, and Aqualad, but this roster would change throughout the years. In 1973, the series was canceled, but returned in 1976 for a brief amount of time. Another revival happened in the 1980s, and was called The New Teen Titans. This was when we first saw Robin, Starfire, Cyborg, Raven, and Beast Boy as a team, plus some of the original members. A lot of the elements from the animated show can be traced to this version of the Teen Titans. The Teen Titans would revise and change themselves multiple times throughout the years. But in 2003, something new was about to happen. It was about to get its own cartoon show. The person behind the original Teen Titans cartoon was Glenn Murakami. He got his start in the animation industry by working on Batman the Animated Series. He worked on the show as a storyboard artist. He then worked as a producer for Batman Beyond and continued to hone his skills. Eventually, he was approached by Sam Register, the senior vice president of development at Cartoon Network at the time, and was requested to share his thoughts on a Teen Titans cartoon. They must have liked what he had to say, because he was brought on board to overlook the show. According to an interview, the people at Cartoon Network and Warner Brothers wanted something different, and Glenn was able to do that. One thing that immediately stands out are the designs of the characters and how they look somewhat like anime. There's actually a nickname for the style, Murikanime. Much of the show is inspired by Japanese storytelling, plus other shows like Kakaida, Go Rangers, and Cyborg 009. When asked about the cast of characters Glenn selected, he said that he picked the Wolfman and Perez version of the Teen Titans comic, since it was the one that he grew up with. Despite the show being aimed at the 6 to 11-year-old demographic, Teen Titans had mature themes, characters with depth that had story arcs and would grow as the series went on. According to Glenn, he wanted a show about interesting characters who just so happened to have superpowers. Characters who were not super buff like their versions from the comic books. By doing that, they provided a way to be more relatable to their audience.
Thank you, Starfire. I have to admit you're not bad for a Tamaranian. You must be one of the good ones.
No. The fact that I rescued you does not make me any better than other Tamaranians.
Look, I'm trying to pay you a compliment.
Then why does it still sound like an insult?
As I said before, Teen Titans was initially aiming for the 6 to 11-year-old demographic. At the time, Justice League was going on, and it was a little over the heads of its viewers. Teen Titans was supposed to be for that younger audience, but it grew over time to appeal to a larger demographic. It became a very popular show and did excellent with the ratings. It was also nominated for 3 Annie Awards and a Motion Picture Award.
I'm only gonna say this once.
Booyah!
At first, only 4 seasons were planned, but Cartoon Network wanted a 5th due to the growing popularity of the series. New heroes and villains were introduced. 3-part story arcs were not uncommon, and we even got some closure for a few characters. Despite its popularity, things were about to change, and in 2006, the original Teen Titans came to an end. This is where the mystery begins, because the ending of Teen Titans is somewhat cryptic. I have searched and consulted a bunch of hardcore fans, and the result is usually the same. No one really knows. There are many theories of why the show ended, but none of them are officially confirmed by Cartoon Network or Warner Brothers. The first one is whether or not there was even going to be a season 6. As I said before, Teen Titans started with 4 seasons, but Cartoon Network ordered a 5th due to the success of the show. But after season 5, the show came to an end, despite having cliffhangers.
Things change, Beast Boy. The girl you want me to be is just a memory.
Will Wheaton, the voice of Aqualad, said that new executives at Warner Brothers decided not to renew the show and did not care for the pitch for season 6. But Rob Hoagie, the story editor for Teen Titans, said that Will was wrong and that Cartoon Network was the one responsible for not renewing the show, and that there were no plans for a season 6. David Slack, one of the writers for the show, mentioned on Twitter that we were planning for a 6th season when we got canceled. So that disproves that the show was canceled because Cartoon Network did not like the pitch for the potential season. He also states that the show got canned because ratings fell after Scary Season 4, and/or toy company shenanigans. What David says is very interesting because it feeds into another theory that has been floating around about the cancellation of Teen Titans, that its lack of toy sales are to blame blame for the show's demise. There's also the notion of demographics, and that Teen Titans was siphoning viewers from other shows. That too many females were watching a show for boys, and that Cartoon Network and Warner Brothers did not care for that. I found some information about this theory, but once again, nothing's completely official. As David Slack said on Twitter, it was most likely due to merchandise and a drop in ratings following season 4. I have a theory for another reason, but I'll share it later in the video.
Titans, go!
Some fans were upset that there was no season 6 and took action. There have been many petitions to bring back the original Teen Titans, but to no avail. But there was a shimmer of hope. In 2011, DC Nation Shorts arrived and was sporting a roster of animated content. There was a lot to offer, and some of these shows looked quite good, but one stood out from the crowd: New Teen Titans.
I lost Robin's utility belt. What am I gonna do?
Titans, go!
The original staff returned and provided many episodes that were more comedic and carefree. Also, the characters were sporting a chibi design, one that looked a lot like the doodles from director Ben Jones. This was a step in the right direction. It wasn't necessarily what people were wanting, but it was nice to see something Teen Titans related. And it made sense that it would be different since DC Nations was focused on shorts. Comedy was perfect for that.
Beast Boy, the sign says do not touch.
Yeah, but the cookie says munch, munch, munch.
Huh? Why are we on Beast Boy's shoulder?
I'm trying to make him do the right thing.
Which in this case is eating that cookie.
Eat the stupid cookie.
Again, there was hope that supporting this show might bring back season 6 of Teen Titans. But instead, something else happened. And in April of 2013, Teen Titans Go officially premiered. Needless to say, this was not what the fans were expecting, and many of them were not happy with the results. Teen Titans Go doubled down on the comedic elements of the new Teen Titans, and basically abandoned anything that resembled an action cartoon. The developers behind Teen Titans Go are Aaron Hovarth and Michael Jelinek. I tried to find out if they had any involvement with the original Teen Titans, but I could not find anything. In an interview with ComicsAlliance.com, they mentioned how Warner Brothers desired to make Teen Titans into a comedy, since action cartoons were not performing well at the time. So Michael and Aaron shook hands with Warner Brothers, and the final product is Teen Titans Go.
Let me clarify. I am not sure the fans will love it. The old shows. Because this is definitely, I mean, they love these characters, and we're doing something they probably, I mean, if it was up to them, they'd like to see a continuation of season 6, and we're not doing that. So they will see what we're doing, which is completely not what is expected, and that may rub them the wrong way, at least at first. What I do think is people who are coming to the show fresh will be like, they won't even, they have no sort of expectations of what Teen Titans are or what the show is. They hate the show right now. When they see it, they're probably going to hate it a little bit more. And then they'll see 4 episodes and they go, it's not that bad. Yeah. And then in about 5 years when it's canceled, they will love it.
Demand more episodes.
Comic book fans don't love anything until it's canceled. Then it's like...
Then save it?
Yeah, save it. Again. Say people who want to punch us in the face will want to save the show one day, I'm confident.
Well, we aren't quite there yet, and many fans are still angry with Teen Titans Go, but we'll talk about that later. I was curious though, if the original staff who worked on Teen Titans were asked to work on Teen Titans Go. I asked David Slack, a writer for the original Teen Titans, if this was the case, and he said they were asked, but he was personally busy at the time. He also said that some of the original staff went on to work with Teen Titans Go, and that includes Glenn Murakami as a producer. This is interesting, since many people believe that the staff for Teen Titans Go have no clue about the original show. There was even a rumor floating around that the showrunners had never seen the original Teen Titans, but according to them, that was only a joke that was taken out of context.
Did you post the video where everyone wants to punch us in the face?
Yes, apparently, yeah.
Oh, that was your video?
I was going to ask you about that because I did.
Can I just say for the record, I don't ever want to clarify it in the real world, but we had seen the show before.
Yeah.
I remember that clip.
Yeah.
It's like, everyone's like, they've never seen the show before. Because I go, yeah, I've never seen it before, and then he talks over me, I'm just kidding. But he steps on my just kidding.
Yeah, I wondered.
But now people want to punch us in the face.
It goes without saying that Teen Titans Go was quite the departure from the original. The characters are insanely wacky. They no longer fight crime. The humor had become somewhat crude and was very loud and fast-paced. It has poor reviews. People complain about it on the internet all the time, and some fans see it as a nail in the coffin for the franchise. And yet, it is the most popular show on Cartoon Network and has been growing and growing and growing.
I warned you about this. You've given your bellies too much power, and now they've taken control.
Indeed, we have!
Yes, brother. Now let us seek out more food.
Hey guys, just wanted to take a quick moment to thank Meticulous Nicholas for this week's fan art. Also, a shout out to my top tier supporters on Patreon: Blair, Julius, Isvan, Chad Butler, Screenflare, Mr. Skids, Malkeo, Scratch, and Illegally Sane. Thank you all for your support. So we have covered the history of Teen Titans and how it has changed over the years. How it went from this to this to this. And this new version of the Titans have been blamed for a few things. Number one, people believe that Teen Titans Go has tainted the legacy of its predecessors. That it went from being a thoughtful action cartoon and now only cares about entertaining children by being silly and crude. And number two, that Teen Titans Go has taken over Cartoon Network and prevents the channel from providing variety to their schedule. That old and new shows have no chance to grow popular when Teen Titans Go controls over 40% of the weekly schedule. These are two major accusations, and I have been reading and thinking about them for weeks now. I want to share with you all what I think. So let's start with point number one. The first thing people need to understand about Teen Titans Go is that the decision came down from Warner Brothers, and the guy in charge over there is Sam Register. David mentioned in a tweet that Sam Register is the driving force on all Teen Titans related stuff. In fact, he was the one who brought on Glenn Murakami for the original show. Back then though, he was the senior vice president of development at Cartoon Network. But now he's the president of Warner Brothers Animation. So this guy has been on both sides for Teen Titans, since it involves Cartoon Network and Warner. Basically, he's the guy in charge, and you can look to him for how Teen Titans has changed over the years. As I said before, Warner went to Aaron and Michael to make the new Teen Titans, but as a comedy. They realized that the current landscape for cartoons was hostile towards action shows, and instead favored comedy. The current landscape for cartoons is such a big part of why Teen Titans became Teen Titans Go. It's not like the people in charge said, let's piss off all of our old fans because screw them. Instead, they checked the pulse of animation and saw that the timing was good, and I can somewhat agree to that. Young Justice, an excellent show, came out in 2010, but was canceled in 2013. alongside some other action cartoons. They were expensive to make, and they weren't succeeding in the realm of merchandise. These kinds of problems will make a company ask if things need to be altered. They might have worked in the 1990s and early 2000s, but the game has changed. Because of that, Teen Titans Go was their solution, and it has been insanely successful. It brings in millions of viewers, and, at times, has surpassed SpongeBob in the ratings. The glaring problem, though, is that the original fans of Teen Titans feel alienated and abandoned, that they no longer matter. They probably feel this way because they have supported the show, saw a glimmer of hope, and got Teen Titans Go instead. So I can understand why they feel betrayed. But betraying the fans of Teen Titans was never the goal of the people behind Teen Titans Go. The show staff wanted to make a South Park version of Teen Titans, something silly and fun. But it just did not click with many old fans, and the show staff are painfully aware of this. Heck, they make fun of themselves all the time, and how the characters are not as cool as they once were.
He's our #1 fan, yo!
We have a fan? Are you sure? I thought everyone considered us an abomination.
They do! Everybody hates us!
Everyone except Wally Walls right here!
A Teen Titans Go fan, huh? I don't buy it. Tell me, Walter, do you like the Teen Titans or the Teen Titans? As I thought.
Makes sense.
I mean, I don't blame him. I mean, animation-wise, there's really no comparison.
But the show staff are still fans of comics, and they aren't completely blind to the franchise they are working on. When I rewatched Teen Titans Go, I saw multiple jokes that only serious fans would understand.
Your parents! They're here, man!
Well, where are they?
They are just on the other side of the door.
Mommy! Daddy! Your baby is coming! Get this off me! Go!
April Fools!
You sure did get me. You sure did.
That was just mean.
Yes, Teen Titans Go is not perfect, but the people who make it aren't heartless, and they try to have fun when they can. In my opinion, it's all about your perspective and how you choose to watch the show. Going into it, I held resentment, but after swallowing my pride, I was able to enjoy the show's humor. They have some jokes that made me laugh out loud. It kind of makes me regret putting the show on my top 10 worst Cartoon Network list.
Guys, the monster in me is feeding on your anger. I don't know who I am anymore!
Snap out of it! You're Raven!
Am I? Or am I a monster? A freak? I don't think I can be a part of this team anymore! What is happening to our team?
It's too late, Star. He knew what he was doing when he drank the juice!
You know, this dude totally sounds like someone. I know! Weird Al Yankovic!
Ah, yes, the great singer of song parodies. If only I was half as evil to earn a living by making songwriters look like fools! Diabolical!
But then the show has some stupid humor that's uninspired and crude, and I get grumpy again. But then I realize that this show was not made for me. It's just like My Little Pony. If some people just so happen to enjoy the show, awesome. But just understand that it was never intended for you to begin with. The demographic has shifted, and fans of the original show will no longer be catered to. I try to view this show through a different lens, that it's just some bizarro universe where the Teen Titans are a bunch of incompetent goofs, like some kind of multiverse from Rick and Morty. If you can see it from that point of view, you can probably enjoy the show. But if you see it from the perspective of a fan who believes that they were betrayed, you'll probably hate the show. But when it comes to the legacy of Teen Titans and how it has changed over the years, I would not blame the creators of Go. The landscape for cartoons had shifted due to the popularity of other shows, and new trends had begun. Warner Brothers and Cartoon Network simply chose to follow. Speaking of Cartoon Network, point number 2. Is Teen Titans Go to blame for the scheduling problem at Cartoon Network? Cartoon Network went through an animation renaissance in 2010. Prior to that, they were somewhat struggling to provide quality cartoons, but then Regular Show and Adventure Time arrived. Both shows were great, but Adventure Time was the more influential of the two and became the face of the network. I believe that shows like Adventure Time are what shifted the landscape of cartoons. That audiences began to favor shows that were silly and had a comedic undertone to them. Now, that's not to say that Adventure Time or Regular Show are just a bunch of jokes and that's it. It's quite the opposite. And both cartoons have serious moments. But to executives at TV networks, what they saw were the numbers, and those numbers told them to keep pushing this trend. In 2013, Teen Titans Go arrived. At first, it wasn't too bad, and the channel still maintained a healthy variety of shows. But around 2016 and 2017, the schedule began to shift in favor of Teen Titans Go. One big red flag was the ending of Regular Show, and how Cartoon Network did not do anything special for it. There was no marathon, there was no special event, it just aired on its own, and hasn't re-aired since.
Coming through! Pops, no! Whoa! Bad show.
So what did they air, leading up to Regular Show's conclusion? You got it. People are afraid that the same thing might happen to Adventure Time, that it won't get a proper send-off when it ends in 2018, that Cartoon Network might brush it off and focus on other programming. People are quick to blame Teen Titans Go for the current schedule on Cartoon Network, but let's be fair, the show staff have nothing to do with the scheduling. If you are looking for someone who should be responsible, then you should ask Christina Miller and Vishnu Athreya. Christina is the president and general manager of Cartoon Network. She has been in that position since July of 2014. Interestingly enough, Vishnu became the VP of Program Scheduling for Cartoon Network in June of 2014. So there was quite the changing of the guards around that time. Since these two carry the titles of what appears on Cartoon Network, I can only conclude that they are the ones responsible for the current schedule on the channel, that they have doubled down on Teen Titans Go, and have left older programming on the side. Look at these schedules. They are mainly Teen Titans Go here in America. This concerns me, since older shows fall to the wayside, and newer shows don't get as much attention. OKKO had a decent introduction, but it was aired alongside an enormous Teen Titans Go marathon. Perhaps this was to draw in the Teen Titans Go audience, but I'm not sure. It looks like overkill to me. Check out the schedules of these other countries that have Cartoon Network. Look at the variety. It is much more balanced and is not consumed by a single show. But Teen Titans Go is the flagship here in America, and everything else is a tugboat. I know that in the world of business, there is the phrase, give them what they want. But Teen Titans Go is being taken to the nth degree. It takes away viewership of older shows. It drives away other demographics, and it does not cultivate a future for new shows. I mentioned how Mighty Magiswords was potentially a less than desirable path for the network, but I was wrong. The show did not even get much of a chance, and hasn't aired since July. Sonic Boom has not aired since December, and many of these shows are not even complete. Instead, they're being sent over to Boomerang, the retirement home for Cartoon Network. In conclusion, Teen Titans Go has formed quite the reputation over the last few years. Is all of it warranted? I'd say no. It's not perfect, but it's far from the most terrible shows aired on Cartoon Network. It just sucks how often they air it now, and how it suffocates other cartoons on the channel. But again, that's not the fault of Teen Titans Go. If you are looking to be upset at anyone, Go send a strongly worded letter to Christina, Vishnu, or Sam Register. Those people actually have some power to change things over at Warner Brothers and Cartoon Network. Maybe someday, the landscape for cartoons will shift again and favor more action-focused shows. Content that has a wider appeal and doesn't just aim to a younger demographic. Young Justice was canceled in 2013, but with proper support, it will now be returning to Netflix for a third season. This means that there's hope, that Teen Titans can get another season, that voices can be heard, and that the people at Cartoon Network and Warner Brothers might make some changes so a wider demographic can be accommodated. It might not happen overnight. It might not happen at all, but it's not impossible. Also, there will be a Teen Titans live-action show in the near future, but there's also going to be a Teen Titans Go movie in 2018, so who really knows where they're taking this franchise? They have their lighthearted moments and serious ones, so perhaps someday Teen Titans can exist as a comedy cartoon and an action cartoon. They are starting to air the old Teen Titans on Cartoon Network again, so maybe change is around the corner.